China's FOBS can go around the planet at hypersonic speeds to wipe out entire cities, and the United States is very worried. FOBS stands for Fractional Orbital Bombardment System, a weapon that goes into orbit and deorbits at the right time to deal maximum damage to targets, making even the most advanced missile defense systems almost useless. This is no casual, baseless project. The US military has reason to believe the FOBS was designed to be used against them, and they're not about to be silent about it. In this video, we will shed light on this punch-for-punch, dangerous arms race going on between two of the world's most powerful nations. The hypersonic FOBS. The FOBS is an advanced version of intercontinental ballistic missiles, ICBMs, with the significant plus of higher range, greater speeds, and real anxiety within the United States. Once launched, a FOBS would jet into low Earth orbit, circling the Earth for as long as it needs to. With its target destination in sight, it deorbits at a speed up to 27 times the speed of sound, roughly 9 times faster than any jet in operation today. The FOBS is very similar to space shuttles, but instead of a capsule full of astronauts, it has a nuclear warhead as its payload. With a range spanning across the globe, the FOBS can attack the US from whatever direction, arriving at least 10 minutes quicker than an intercontinental ballistic missile would. This unpredictability means the US would only have a few minutes from when they spot the missile to when it makes a massive dent on their soil. And in the unlikely event that the US has all the time in the world to prepare their defenses, reports say, thanks to the glider on the FOBS, it could actually evade American missile defense systems and still deal some serious damage. The FOBS simply moves too fast for these defense systems to track, intercept, or destroy. Sci-fi as it sounds, the FOBS isn't a new weapon concept. In fact, China copied the idea from none other than the King of the North, Russia. It was the Soviet Union era, with resources focused on neutralizing the United States missile defense systems, which were so powerful, Soviet ICBMs began to look weak. These missiles had a predictable trajectory, and once the US aimed its defense systems to face the north, they could easily keep the Soviets' attacks under control. In response, the Soviets developed a weapon that was unpredictable enough to hurt the US either from the north or by going around the planet to attack from the south. They named this weapon the Fractional Orbital Bombardment System, thanks to its ability to reach fractional orbit. However, it was never used against the United States. They never even put it in orbit, which is less than we can say about China today. In the 1960s, the US and the Soviet Union were prohibited by the Outer Space Treaty from putting nuclear weapons in orbit. However, the treaty wasn't the only factor that kept the Soviet FOBS grounded. The US had called off its defense systems against nuclear weapons, which were the targets the Soviet FOBS was created to destroy. And once again, Soviet ICBMs could deal extensive damage to the US, and so the FOBS became pointless. The Outer Space Treaty is now history, and nothing prevents the top nations from placing a rocket load of nukes in orbit, as China has clearly demonstrated for the world to see. Thanks to Financial Times, this demonstration became a trending topic, as they reported that China had in fact tested a hypersonic orbital bombardment weapon in August. China claims it's all a misunderstanding and they were actually testing some type of space plane. But seeing as China has been on a weapon development frenzy, their claim didn't hold much water. So the burning question remained: why has China developed this weapon of mass destruction at a pace that even the United States couldn't keep up with? Well, it turns out that the answer isn't much different from Moscow's over half a century ago: to defeat the United States missile defenses. It's the most logical explanation, as a FOBS is the only type of weapon the US doesn't have an absolute defense against. But maybe not for long, because if anything, the United States is notorious for having the best response to threats. How will the US respond? The US must find a way to make China believe in nuclear deterrence and put their FOBS away. Trying to ask really nicely would only risk giving them something to laugh about. The US must prove they can handle Chinese FOBS or deal similar damage to China with some sci-fi weapons of their own. But space situational expert Marco Longbroke has a different opinion. that the US should extend the range of its ballistic missile defenses and install anti-satellite missiles. Many believe this is mainly a defensive approach and may not be the best one. Building a shield waiting to be disintegrated doesn't do too well for the morale of everyday regular Americans. Some reports are already claiming this to be a repeat of the Sputnik crisis, which was widespread fear within the United States resulting from the Soviets launching the world's first artificial satellite, Sputnik 1. Strategically, there are two options for the US to get neighboring countries to build missile defense systems of their own and protect the US from nuclear attacks before reaching their borders. This approach, logical as it sounds, would inconveniently require the US to break the bank and sponsor defense systems that do not even sit on their land. Missile defense systems are costly setups. The ground-based mid-course defense system in Alaska, for one, had a price tag of about $70 billion. A proposed missile defense site at Fort Drum in New York had an estimated $3.6 billion budget for its first 5 years alone, and it could handle 5 enemy missiles. But as China continues to blur the lines between orbit-based and non-orbit-based attacks, the Space Force is willing to spare no penny to keep China in check. To them, it's long overdue. Aside from the FOBS, China has also tested a satellite that can incapacitate US satellites, which the Space Force didn't find too amusing. War of the Satellites. In 2013, China launched a satellite known as Xi'an, and it's not your regular friendly neighborhood satellite. It had grappling arms large enough to grab other satellites and pluck them out of orbit, which was clearly demonstrated in a test. China confirmed that this was indeed their satellite, but only created it for research purposes. That was a funny one, seeing as weapons are generally researched before development. And then there's Russia with 3 attack-capable satellites of their own. The first, nicknamed Kamikaze, was launched in 2014. It had incredible maneuverability at high speeds that, if fitted with projectile weapons, would make it like a fighter jet in space, say a fighter satellite. But it didn't have projectile capabilities. Its cousin did. Yes, Russia launched another satellite in 2017 that contained a smaller satellite that could shoot projectiles. Their third entry, the nesting doll, came in 2019, which combined the abilities of the previous 2 launches, meaning it could maneuver at whatever speeds and shoot projectiles. And so Russia had basically launched a fighter satellite into space. And all of this space weaponry didn't go unnoticed in the US. In fact, the US Space Force was born the same year Russia's fighter satellite went into space. And so far, they've kept much of their activities on a low, but it's easy to understand they're working on something big. And it's not just the Space Force that's working. There's a collective effort from the entire United States military, from the Air Force with the new 6th generation fighters to Lockheed Martin, Boeing, and Northrop Grumman developing powerful lasers that could slice a satellite in half and disintegrate missiles mid-flight. So China's FOBS might not be so invincible after all. And once the FOBS is out of the picture, the US can make a statement of its own in other departments, seeing as they have the most powerful air force in the world and the largest aircraft carriers in history. So China does have some thinking to do about their approach to advanced nuclear weaponry, as the peaceful roundtable talk would likely benefit them as much as it would the rest of the world. That is, after all, the whole point of nuclear deterrence, making it clear that all parties would have something to worry about should any nuclear missiles recklessly take to the sky with foreign soil as its target. Another target worth discussing is the like button just below this video. Smash it and you'll be helping this channel grow on the YouTube algorithm. And if you're interested in all of this military talk, kindly subscribe to the channel. It's all we ever talk about. I don't know about you, but something still seems fishy about China and the similarities with Russian operations. Could this be a partnership between the two nations? Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. And that'll be all for this video. Thank you for watching.